On behalf of Jen's family and friends, I welcome and thank you. I welcome you whether you're here in person, remotely, or in spirit. I thank you. We have all been touched by your outpourings of grief and kindness and offers of support. You have helped us through this unbearable week. We gathered on Thursday to bury Jen, and we are gathered here today to celebrate Jen's life. We are gathered here to tell Jen we love her, we miss her, and she's not to worry that we are going to take care of one another. We will shortly hear from a number of people from the different parts and times of Jen's life. We are going to begin with Jen's children, the most important people in her life, Kate and Cam. Would you please come forward?
Hi everyone. As you may know, I'm Kate, Jen's favorite daughter. Sorry, Cam. I never thought I'd be standing up here today, but these are things you never plan. My mom would be thrilled to have all of her favorite people here gathered to talk about her. As most of you know, my mom always loved to give to others. If someone was in need of help, my mom would support you to the best of her ability. I remember I had a close friend when I was younger, and she was in foster care, and she was being placed on the other side of the city. My mom's heart ached for her when I told her, and she jumped to offer to take her in as one of her own. I also remember I had a huge obsession with cash registers for some reason. I've always wanted one. And my mom and I went over Kijiji looking for one, and we finally found one, and she drove halfway across the city just to get me a cash register. I'll never forget how happy I was that day. My mom was also a very beautiful woman. She always cared about what she looked like. When I was in grade 6, my mom trusted me enough to cut her hair, and for some reason believed this was a great idea. As many of you can guess, it didn't go according to plan. She wanted just a trim, as she would say, which was about 1 inch, and instead I accidentally cut off about 5 inches. She cried about that for the rest of the day, but even with the haircut, my mom was absolutely gorgeous. After this incident, we sat on the couch and watched The Office together. I'm sure a lot of you know how much she loved that show. I can guarantee that I have watched at least every episode twice with her, and that she has watched that show about 6 times by herself. This theme song will forever be stuck in my head. As Andy Bernard said in the finale, I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days before you've actually left them. I miss my mom each and every day, and I will continue to miss her for the rest of my life. I wish I could spend more time with her, but like I said, we can never predict these types of things. I always have and always will look up to my mom. I will work to make her prouder each and every day. She was my best friend and always will be. Mom, I love you. With love, from your strawberry-haired girl, or as you love to say, one of the 2 C's.
Hello, I'm Mom's other daughter, Camden. I remember a few years ago, before I was in high school, my mom and I were at home, and we were singing the song X's and O's together just for fun, and because we were in the mood for singing. A while later, we were getting our hair done at the salon, and the song came on, and we looked at each other and smiled and started singing it. That's one of my favorite memories with my mom. My mom was the first person I would go to when I was sad, in need of advice, or happy about something currently going on in my life. Because she would always cheer me up and knew what to say to comfort me. She gave me endless fashion advice, whether it was coming with me to pick out my new glasses, choosing a dress for my graduation, or just simply asking her if she thought the skirt I was wearing was cute. She was one of my #1 supporters, always expressing how proud she was about any achievement I made. She was an amazing mom, and she will always be my mom. She was a kind, beautiful person that brought happiness into so many people's lives. I can remember so many stories that she told me about her and others here. Whether they were funny or just simply a fond memory, I cherished all of them because they made her so happy. And I'm looking forward to hearing the memories and stories you all have to share about my mom. Thank you.
All right, fortunately I've recovered. Greg, we'd like next to have Jen's stepfather, Greg Brandt, come and say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Well, it's a tough act to follow, those two, but I'm not sure what I really wanted to say when I began preparing for this. It's difficult, and I went through several drafts, helped frequently by my technical advisor, Kate, who tried to get me a script with a big enough font. And anyway, we worked through it, and I'm grateful for her for that. So in the end, I thought that what I could do is just try to focus on why we're all here today. And that is, it's a celebration of her life. It's not a mourning. It's more of a happy time where we remember Jen through our various experiences with her over her lifetime. I see today actually as a day of storytelling, of sharing our experiences, each with a different kind of connection with her. So let me begin with my story. For 34 years, I've been privileged to be Jen's stepfather. When I came into her life following the tragic early death of her father Dennis, when she was just 13 years old. Jen loved her father very much and felt the loss deeply. In fact, I learned just the other day that although prior to his death, she used to play the piano very frequently, and following his death, she has never played again. And that's sad. She was devoted to him, and it fell to me, I felt, to step into the void that had been created by his loss. And notwithstanding that, I can happily say that from the beginning of our time together, she accepted me as her stepdad, as she frequently would refer to me. Never did I feel I had to deal with any suggestion that I was not her real father, or that I was doing something that was inappropriate for me to do. I seem, however, to have been exempted from the sting of her tongue, and many of you will know what that means. She told me several times that she thought of me as her father. I loved that, as she became the daughter I never had, a stepsister, my son Mike, who's here, and his son Jake is here. Her gift giving also showed her thoughtfulness and care for my feelings. Let me give you just one example of several. On Father's Day 2020, she gave me a Saskatchewan Roughriders t-shirt. She knew that I was a Roughies fan because I came from Saskatchewan, and she took the trouble to find out where she could get one for me. And that extra effort was typical of Jen. I could go on at great length to speak of the many ways in which she helped fill out my life. But others are waiting in the queue to tell their story, so I will close my remarks by simply telling you of an interest Jen had, which may surprise some of you, and certainly endeared her to me. She's a passionate supporter of the Seattle Seahawks of the National Football League. If you were one of her Facebook followers and her beloved Seahawks won their game, you could always expect to find a Facebook post proudly proclaiming her allegiance to Seahawks and announcing in exaggerated font, "Seahawks win." I should add that if they did not win, Jen was silent. I'm sure that had she still been with us last week, Jen could have been seen sitting on the couch in her England t-shirt, her For England t-shirt, supporting the England football team in their game against Denmark in the Euro Cup quarterfinals. And I wonder whether or not she'll be in Wembley in spirit when her team plays the Italian team. Goodbye, sweet Jennifer. I miss you, and I will always love you.
Thank you, Greg. And now, if my mom would come up and join us, please.
This is a heartbreaking moment for any mother. The thing that most mothers dread, the death of a child. I'm utterly devastated, and the only thing keeping us going is the love and support of family, friends, and especially of Greg's. I loved Jen from the moment she was born in London, England. She was a happy wee soul. In fact, she used to whistle. She had this incredible capacity to actually whistle, very young. Her brother Nick is just 13 months older, and they got along very, very well until they were teenagers, and then there were always fights over the car, but that's par for the course, isn't it? When we moved to Canada in '74, she quickly made friends with many of you who are here, particularly Helen, Paula, and Tanya, all close friends, and with Heather and David Luckman. I know that they would want to be here, but of course they live in a different part of Canada now. Jen travelled very widely actually when she was a child. We were in Barbados when she was a little, 18 months old. We went back from Canada to England many times. We went to Hong Kong in 1978 to visit the Chung family. And thanks to their generosity, we actually all went around the world, as it turned out. On her sabbatical leave in Cambridge in 1881, she developed a lifelong love of British sweets and candies, as you'd call them here. And that's why there's a box of Maltesers sitting over there. We thought we'd have a little bit of symbolism there. She actually asked for those, I understand, when she had an accident in Cambridge while we were there, and she asked for the Maltesers all the time, so it's very special to her. The death of her dad, as Greg has said, in 1984 was very traumatic for her. It was on holiday in Greece and devastating for her. And we are absolutely thrilled that Patricia, who is here today as well, Patricia Black, was looking after both Jen and Nick at the time, and we're ever grateful for that. The one thing that I want to point out here is that in 2011, Vincent Chung, who's a family friend I mentioned already, through his generosity, the Dennis Holland Lecture Theatre was opened at University College in London. And it was dedication to his name. There was a painting competition. There was a huge dinner where all the students came and acknowledged him. And she was so grateful for that. She thought that that was a recognition of her dad, and that meant so much to her. And I saw that somebody had actually posted a picture of Jen with the Princess Royal, which was taken. I think she was always very proud of that. She was a beautiful, very bright young woman. As we all know, I'm not going to go through her degrees. She got a BA, her LLB, her bar exams, and her master's degree. She really enjoyed legal research, and I think a lot of the faculty members were they really enjoyed working with her. After her marriage to Paul Holmes, she had the birth of two wonderful daughters, and you've heard from them. Such a wonderful job, Cam and Kate. Really, you did. Cam was born in 2003 and Kate in 2005 after they came to London. So we've been spending a lot of time with them. Over the past few days, what we've done is we've unearthed a lot of our old DVDs. We've converted them from the old format of VHS, and we've been watching them all and seeing all those things, all those very happy times when we spent a lot of time together, and everything was just, it was wonderful. She loved Cam and Kate with all her heart, and was loved just as much by them. She was so proud of all their accomplishments, both academic and otherwise, and she wished to go to school playing in the band, and Cam took up the flute and she was playing with Lucas, and we always went to these concerts. Just to focus on Jen, she had so many qualities. I mean, her intellect, her determination, her wonderful generosity to those less fortunate. I've never gone past a homeless person without Jen donating something. She had a quirky sense of humour. She loved Monty Python. As Greg has already said, her thoughtfulness in choosing gifts for the family was just unparalleled. I lost an onyx ring, which was very precious to me. She spent hours scouring the internet trying to find something that looked like it. And she found that's the one that I have right now. That's just one example. Venice playing cards. She knows Venice, my favourite city. She went through internet searching and searching and searching until she found the perfect thing. She also had a great love of animals, especially her cats. I think we all know that. She loved all animals, though. I know she loved me, although we had the odd disagreement, but it never really affected the deep love that we felt for each other. I'm going to miss meeting up with her for lunch or just sitting on the deck shooting the breeze, and all the significant events that one would look forward to. Mother's Day, graduations, and Christmas. She loved Christmas, as you all know. She actually started decorating for Christmas towards the end of October, just so she could have a longer experience of Christmas. Jen was diagnosed with a serious illness, as many of you know, in 2018. And over the past 3 years, she has shown tremendous courage in the face of all the challenges and hospital visits that she's had. I want to thank Blair Carpenter for the care he's taken of Jen over the past year or so. And it was a very difficult time, and Jen fought to the very end. Jen, I love you. I miss you very much, and you will be in my heart and my thoughts forever. Your spirit lives on and provides inspiration for all of us, and especially for Cam and Kate.
Pat Black was the rock on which we rested when my father died. They were very precious to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I told Winnie I would be brief for me. I'm not known to be brief. And listening to some of you, it's a little longer. Some of it will echo what's already been said, including Winnie's beautiful tribute to her daughter. Thank you, Winnie, for asking me to say a few words for Jen. It's an honor to do so, although words at these times are always inadequate. Thank you for your kind words too, Nick. I first met Jen, her mum Winnie, and her dad Dennis, and her brother Nicholas in 1974 when they arrived in London, and when I was working at the Faculty of Law, University of Western Ontario. So I've known Jen since she was 3 years old. Soon after getting to know the family, I babysat Jen and Nick for the first time. Jen was like Quicksilver. She was feisty, dare I say strong-willed, and then some. That first time she and I had a big battle regarding bedtime, which lasted quite a while. She was nothing if not persistent. I managed to remain calm and firm, and eventually that small but mighty little lass settled down. And I don't recall that we ever locked horns again. From that time on, over many years of her growing from child to adulthood, I spent a fair amount of social time with the Hollands, and thankfully still continue to do so. Now, Holland and Brants. Words I would use to describe Jen include gutsy, outspoken, dare I say opinionated, caring, kind, generous, lots of repetition here, uncannily intelligent, restless, knowledgeable, inquisitive, obstinate. She had a combination of her beloved dad's and mom's dry senses of humor. She was multi-talented. Our deep affection for each other became even stronger when I was staying with teenagers, Nick and Jen, the year Winnie and Dennis were vacationing in Greece, where Dennis so sadly died. During the week before Winnie was able to bring Dennis home to London, I had many phone calls with her to and from Athens, and they were difficult because the lines would cut out, and no, it was quite a week, as I had the daunting task of arranging Dennis's funeral with the expert guidance and assistance of Steve Harris. It's difficult to take in that now we are here again, but for Jen's funeral, for her celebration. Jen and I even shopped together for a suitable dress she could wear to her dad's funeral, which is a pretty intimate thing to be doing with a teenage girl. In Canada, there was no family member to help Jen and Nick through this tragic experience. I will never ever forget those two devastated teenagers. From that terrible time for Jen, Nick, and for all of those who knew the family, Jen and I had a very special bond. As the years progressed and our lives took their own directions, we didn't spend a great deal of time together, but the love Jen and I had for each other did not fade. I have many memories of stimulating lunches, focus on stimulating lunches with her and Winnie, and of seeing her and Cam and Kate at Winnie and Greg's, and on special occasions such as Jen and Paul's wedding and Nick and Tracy's, as well as at times when Nick has been visiting home. Jen and I had many long chats and lively discussions. Life with her was never dull. Sometimes as she reached adulthood, I felt she had inherited her dad's and mum's teaching skills, as she would make often wise and insightful suggestions to me, as if our ages were reversed. Our chats always included lots of laughter, sometimes tears, and I enjoyed hearing her wry, comical observations on many topics. Jen always wanted to know how things were going with my own daughter and her family far away in Washington State, and I know Jen was concerned for their well-being and for my own struggles with their being so far away. Darling Jen, you never lost your concern for and interest in those you cared about. Jen had many strong likes and dislikes. One food she loved was chicken Kiev, and of course Asian food was another. She loved shopping, and as her mum has already said, Christmas. A highlight of her year was to have the house decorated for Christmas very early, if not pre-season, and now I find out it was as early as October, right after Halloween probably. Jen, you were so proud of your two girls' achievements, and I know Cam and Kate, you will continue to give your dad Paul, your grandparents and your family's reason for pride as you tackle new ventures in the coming years. And I know also that you will continue to receive the best possible care, support, and encouragement from them. I admired your ability, Jen, to come through your life's many challenges with the love and help of those who care about you. And then to carry on, yet again, very sadly and way too early. Your tough Yorkshire and Scots blood combined couldn't overcome the most recent assault dealt you. I love you, and I will miss you. Thank you for your many kindnesses to me.
Thanks very much, Patricia. Next, would Helen Luckman please come up? The Luckmans have been part of our family ever since we arrived, and thank you very much, Helen.
This is a day that we all hoped would never come, and I feel for those of us who've come to Canada as immigrants, our families live a long way away, and we create family bonds with others to make up for those that we've left behind. And we, since 1975, have been close neighbours and friends of the Holland family. Holland family, Brandt family, games of bridge that went on. And when we first moved from our house on Sherwood Avenue to the corner house on Richmond and Sherwood Avenue, we have many pictures that show Nick and Jenny pulling buggies across the road to move our furnishings from A to B. Although our children were younger than Nick and Jenny, Heather, our daughter who lives in Manitoba with her own family now, has always looked on Jenny as the big sister she never had. And David, who was 2 years younger than Nick, used to look to Nick for not always the best examples, I think, when they were toddlers. But as families, we were close, we remain close, and we will always think of Jenny as one of ours. Thank you for inviting us here today, and I look forward to the opportunity to talking to other people. Perhaps I haven't seen who's here behind these face masks, but if Tonya is here, I'm dying to see Tonya, because Tonya Elichuk lived down the end of the lane, and Helen, are you here? Helen Walker, I remember the names. Paula, I don't know that we've met, but this is an opportunity for those of us to share memories and to reflect on the good fortune we have, and to think, please, that as we go forward, we carry Jen in our hearts, and the Holland family, and particularly Cam and Kate. We're here for you if you need us. We'll not get in your way, but if ever you need us, we're here. Thank you, Jen. We will all miss you. What a gorgeous woman you were, you are, and you will remain in our hearts. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks very much, Helen. If Helen Hartzell would please come and join us next. Helen has been a friend of Jen's since as long as I can remember. And thank you very much, Helen.
Thank you, Nick. Got to get the readers on, even with super-powered contact lenses, it doesn't do the job these days. First of all, thank you so much, Winnie, Nick, Greg, family, having me today here. Hi, everyone. My name is Helen Hartzell, or some of you may have known me as Helen Walker. Jen and I met at Montessori and continued school together all the way up to completion of first year at McMaster University. We had such a wonderful childhood growing up in Old North. We experienced many life lessons together, and I'd like to share some of the things I learned from and with Jen along the way. The importance of your childhood variety store. Jen's was Miles Variety. Living further down by the university gates, I really was a Wells Variety kind of gal. But Jen introduced me to the wonders of Miles and how far we could make 50 cents go. There were many fun dips, Astropops, and Score chocolate bars consumed. By the way, those came out in 1983, I checked. Oh, those were good. Along with popsicles and freezies. Not only was Miles a place to get our sugar fix filled, it was also a place to hang out and see the boys from school. But more on that later. The importance of music. When we were very young, it was sitting in Jen's living room, watching her practice piano. Then we started sitting in front of the TV, watching the wonder that was much music. Still to this day, if you ask me what song reminds me of Jen, over and above anything by Michael Jackson, Genesis, Supertramp, AC/DC, Pink Floyd, or others, it will always be Party Train by the Gap Band. If you don't remember that video, it's of course on YouTube, and I strongly encourage you to watch it, because it then brings me to another big Jen memory, breakdancing. Not just the movies, but her lessons. Yes, Jen took breakdancing lessons, and she was awesome. With her Michael Jackson Beat It red jacket adorning her bedroom wall, she was one of the coolest kids I knew. The importance of food. In our childhood, it was definitely Pac-Man cereal, chunky beef burger soup, and McCain Deep and Delicious cake. In high school, it was definitely the Eaton Square food court downtown. Post-university, Jen loved her Indian and her dim sum. And I know she enjoyed going out for many meals with Winnie, Greg, the girls, and Blair. The importance of style. Whether it was clothing or haircuts or makeup, Jen was as classic and as beautiful as Audrey Hepburn herself. And Jen's simple and yet stunning approach crossed over into interior decorating. Jen was Pottery Barn before Pottery Barn was a thing. The same with Marie Kondo. I always enjoyed getting glimpses of Jen setting up for Christmas for the girls or a fancy dinner event because it always looked so beautiful. Jen excelled in this, and it was something I admired her for. The importance of girlfriends. Oh, those tween and teen years. Our first attempts at shaving our legs and wearing makeup. Our first responsibilities. We'd have a sleepover at Jen's place and would go out to do my paper route together at 6 a.m. in the dark, which was actually quite scary. Or the first time and probably last, we snuck out from Sherwood at midnight to go see one of Nick's friends doing graffiti. I'm pretty sure that was Shauna Driscoll, but only to have that friend tell Nick, so we ended up getting caught anyways. Then there were our first crushes. There was the summer of the all-Canadian tennis camp boys who were staying at King's. She would not be bound to cute London boys. And then certain boys at Ryerson, Central, and Lucas, to name a few. I was a late bloomer in many ways, and so I have always watched and admired Jen, both for her confidence and her ability to win hearts over through friendship and romance. Fast forward to 1994, and Jen reunited Paula and I after being in different cities for a number of years. It's a gift that I will always be grateful to her for. The importance of communication. For those in the room or those on Zoom that remember the dark ages, pre-internet, pre-cell phones, when text was a noun and it was not a verb. Jen and I stayed friends through our last 3 years at university in different towns through letters and phone calls. Can I just say how jealous I was for most of my childhood over Jen's handwriting? It was the most beautiful British handwriting you have ever seen. When I moved back to London, we at one point ended up having apartments beside each other at 351 Princess. We could literally knock on my bedroom wall, which was her bathroom, or to try to call out for one another, one window to the next. Her small black cat, Zoe, could be seen in her window, and then in my window, right beside hers, would be my big black cat, Mowgli. She was in law school at the time, and I was working at Canada Trust, but we always had time for one watering hole or another, usually on Richmond Row. We both ended up moving to Toronto at different times soon thereafter and still connected regularly. However, after Jen and Paul moved back to London and life with kids got busier and busier, we lost a lot of that communication and defaulted, like many, to social media interactions. It's a double-edged sword. It's one that lets us be connected without really being connected. And that is something I wish I could do differently now. Finally, the importance of family and near family. The loss of Jen's dad in 1984 was heartbreaking. Even through that tragedy, Winnie, Jen, and Nick remained strong with the support of the Luckmans and Pat Black. I loved seeing all the photos over the years of the Holland Brent family continuing their support of each other to this day. Jen extended that unconditional support to her friends when they went through rough times as well. When I lost my parents in 2012 and 2014, Jen and I had not seen much of each other due to being in different towns. However, Jen was there with a huge hug, a smile, the kind touch of her hand, some tears, and many words of comfort and offers of support. It didn't matter how much time had passed, we were able to pick up like we had just seen each other the week before. There were so many wonderful memories that I have of Jen, and I will cherish them forever. Winnie, Greg, Camden and Kate, Paul, Blair, Nick. I am so deeply sorry for the loss of your beautiful daughter, sister, mother, wife, and partner. I hope you can feel the swell of support and love for Jen and for you today, and know that will continue on tomorrow as well. Jen will continue to be with you in spirit and in her beautiful, smart, and passionate daughters. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts about how Jen enriched my life. Rest peacefully, Jen, and know that you were missed and loved.
Thanks very much, Helen. As my mom mentioned, the last few years of Jen's life were very difficult. And in that window, she met Blair, her partner, and Blair Carpenter, who took great care of her, and the family have been very grateful to what he's done for her. And I'd like to invite him up to come and say a few words, please. Thank you very much, Blair.
Well, you already know who I am. I'm Blair Carpenter, Blair Mitchell Carpenter. I lived with Jen and spent every last moment with her, every minute with her. I'll just keep this brief. I asked Jen to guide me to help me write this. I could go into many memories that we've had, and lots of laughs and times, but I just want to keep it brief. Jen and I met on May 4th of 2019, and our first date was a wonderful night at the Waltzing Weasel, which quickly became one of many of our favorite places to dine out. Jen struck me as a happy and funny woman. We even had fun fights on that first date at the Weasel. It was amazing. We were like two high school sweethearts who were comfortable with each other as if we had already been together for a while. I'm honored to be here today to speak of the wonderful woman Jen is. Her tenacity and wit never cease to amaze me. We understand each other and laugh at each other's jokes. An amazing sense of humor Jen has. Jen is kind and generous soul, always giving what she can to those she loved, her family, friends, neighbors, and even strangers that are homeless. Together, Jen and I both worked towards a better quality of life. Our relationship was built on honesty, trust, communication, and understanding, all of which grew stronger as our time together grew on. We took good care of each other and worked well as a team. I want everybody here to know that Jen passed doing what she wanted. even though all those who close to her, including myself, did not want her to do for obvious reasons. Jen wanted to have a good time and let God and St. Christopher do the rest. In closing, I would like to say that Jen is among us. Her communication is very subtle, but with a clear mind, her messages to us will manifest as a small, still voice that interrupts her conscious thought. She still makes me very happy to this day and smile. Jen wants us all to be happy, not to worry about her anymore. That is what Jen truly wanted. And last, and by far not the least, Jen has told me to tell all of you that she's happy. She is okay. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Blair. So if Tanya Elichuk would please come forward to join us next. Tanya Elichuk, Tanya Wickett, I apologize. She's always been Tanya Elichuk to me. I'm sorry, but she lived down the road from us for most of our lives. Thank you so much.
I always tell my daughters that even at the ripe age I am, I'm pretty cool still. So I did my speech on my phone. Now I'm kind of regretting that decision. I'd also like to thank Helen for not mentioning who took those breakdancing lessons with Jen. Okay. I'd like to thank Winnie and Greg, Cam and Kate, Paul, Blair, Nick, for having me here today and letting me say a few words. I didn't know where to start, and my dad being the professional journalist, I reached out to him for some help. And he quickly informed me of many memories my dad shares with Dennis coming to collect Jenny. We called her Little Jenny in my house because my sister was friends with Big Jenny. We called Big Jenny, but Jenny was the younger, so she was Little Jenny. So he fondly remembers parties at your house, Winnie, too. It was always a good time at the Holland household. And my dad said, Tanya, just tell everybody how you feel. That's the main thing. So about 3 weeks ago, Jen messaged me asking to meet for lunch. Go to the cottage, so I replied, rain check? She wrote back, absolutely. So when I got the news that Helen was trying to track me down, my heart sank. So many memories immediately filled my head, and Jen's smiling face was all that I could imagine. I urgently needed to know she was okay. So I emailed Winnie and felt comfort that Jen was conscious. Hours later, when Helen shared the unthinkable news, I found myself in utter shock, weeping from the pain of losing my longest friendship. Weeping that I would never have her to talk with or laugh with. Weeping for her daughters, parents, brother. A flood of emotion overcame me upon realizing I would never see my dear friend again. I met Jen 46 years ago when, as a dare from her brother, I rode my bike over her beloved Holly Hobby doll. Shockingly, she forgave me, and we became instant best friends. For years, we would plan sleepovers that involved Sara Lee chocolate cake, or maybe it was the McCain Deep and Delicious, and playing board games, Full House, as I remember, taking trips to the tennis club pool, building forts on my parents' deck, sharing a love for Michael Jackson, as Helen mentioned, and watching much music videos. I remember it being Chicago, Hard Habit to Break. She would play that one over. The laneway that connected our houses was well traveled by both of us. Sadly, Jen and I grew apart in high school, connecting briefly in university. Paula, I think you were in the course, a law class we took, the three of us. Many years passed until one day we reconnected in the parking lot of the Lennon Children's Museum. Her with her two daughters, Kate, you were in the carrier, and me with my two daughters. It had been like no time had passed. Each time Jen and I would meet, she would greet me lovingly and with genuine affection. This is how I will always remember her. She always brought a smile and a great sense of humor to each get-together we had. As has been said, Jen was a tell-it-like-it-is sort of person, sometimes without a filter, and using shocking language that would have me laughing so hard I'd be crying and checking over my shoulder to see if anyone had heard. She loved to make me laugh. She loved to perk me up with compliments. She genuinely didn't like me being sad and supported me throughout my very painful divorce. She was there for me. Jen, I hope you know how much I love you. Thank you for the many laughs and heartfelt conversations. Thank you for being such a loyal and cherished friend. I will miss you so much.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Paul Holmes, would you please come forward? Paul is Cam and Kate's father and Jen's husband, so if you would please come and say a few words.
Well, that's going to be a tough act to follow. So Jen and I were married 20 years ago, last month actually. Things have changed a bit since then, but I really want to thank Winnie, Greg, and Nick for the strength and support that they've shown, not just Cam and Kate, but also to me in this last week. I'm hoping to just briefly recall a few scenes that hopefully are a bit lighter. Jen and I met in the first week of law school, September 1995, on the steps of the law faculty. I was looking to meet people, and I happened upon Jen in a heated debate with one of our colleagues. Now this guy, before law school, had a choice to make between going to seminary or going to law school. And he decided on law school. And so Jen was in this heated debate with this colleague about abortion. And I showed up and chimed in words of support on Jen's side of that particular debate. And Jen's response to that was, I mean, this was an exit ramp for her. She was like, right, that's great, thank you. I'll see you later. And then she left me with that guy. I wasn't looking to meet him. The first time I ever went to Jen's apartment, I scuffed the carpet. Yeah, I know. Like many of you know what that means, right? I can tell. And I mean, it was astonishing that we ever got closer after that. Jen was a lifelong neat freak. That was part of the carpet thing. And she frequently told me this story about, with her brother Nick, that she would clean Nick's room. Nick used his powers of persuasion and leveraged her neatness. And he's probably still using those powers of persuasion in London to get Jen to clean his room every week for the grand sum of 1 penny a week. And the funny thing was, though, Jen's telling me this as an adult, and she still thought that she got the better end of that bargain. It's also astonishing we ever got together because I'm a lifelong Leaf fan. And I don't know if many of you know this, but Jen's hockey team was the Philadelphia Flyers. And it wasn't because, you know, she liked Bobby Clark or the Broad Street Bullies or the Stanley Cups that they won. Had nothing to do with any of that. She didn't even know who was playing for the Flyers. She liked the Philadelphia cream cheese. So she liked the Flyers. I always thought it was a good thing that she wasn't a fan of Swiss cheese, because that would have been a lifelong hockey disappointment. Many people have mentioned about how Jen loved Christmas. And I certainly saw that. She would start right after Halloween, Pat, as you said. And then Boxing Day, that was it. Everything had to go away. But I remember, she loved dressing the girls up. We've been watching videos this week. There's a lot of Christmas videos, and she loved dressing the girls up in beautiful little dresses. She loved going to the Luckmans for Christmas. She often mentioned those times. But I remember one particular Christmas Eve shortly after we were married. We were living in Toronto. It was probably 2001, 2002 maybe. And Jen wanted to go out, and it was late. It was about 11:30. And we found a tapas bar that was open. I think it was on St. Clair. And it was a long, narrow, very dark place, deeper than this room. And Jen loved Christmas, but she felt very badly that someone might have to work Christmas Eve. And so every time she would ask for something, can I get a new napkin? She'd have this profuse apology about having to ask him to do this on Christmas Eve. Every time we'd get a little nibbly or another drink, profuse apology. And I guess the waiter got a little tired of this, because after many times apologizing, the waiter looks at us and goes, "Lady, I'm Jewish. It's all right." And so that is something we laughed about for a long, long time. And she would laugh about that today if she was with us. She would laugh about that today. I also have a confession to make. I wish I had told Jen this. I never did. When we took a vacation in Mexico. This is before the girls were born. Went to Ixtapa. And some of you may know that Jen had sort of this morbid fascination with sharks. She had to watch Shark Week when it was on TV, but she was scared to death of the creatures. And we went out on one of these banana boats behind, they tow you, and it's a big long thing, you sit on it. Jen was sitting in front of me, I was behind her. And I grew up with a cottage. I knew what the hand signals were to give the driver of the boat. And so I gave him the thumbs up in behind Jen, because I wanted to go faster. This means faster, this means go slower, this means just keep it where you are. And so he guns that boat, and we immediately went right over into the water. And Jen was petrified. She had to get out of that water because, there could be sharks. And the boat comes around to get us, and she's just in a panic. Her bikini is falling off, top and bottom. She didn't care. She had to get out of that boat. And I never told her that I had told the guy to speed up. She'd lost her beloved sunglasses, and we had to go into town and just say, I want now to get another pair. But I never told her that, and I wish I had. Anyway, over the past week, we've been watching some videos of those days. And I'm just struck by how damn telegenic Jen is, or was. And the camera loved her as much as people in this room. And that's how I'm going to remember her. I'll be forever grateful to Jen for all that she gave me. all the good times. I was really along for the ride for that. She made the fun times. But especially for our beloved daughters, Cam and Kate. So Jen, you did a good job. You did good. I'm going to take care of them. Thank you.
Gail. Next up, Gail Jones, please. Gail and Jen, I believe, met in law school and they've remained friends ever since. Thank you very much, Gail. Come a long way.
Of course you have me go after Paul where my eyes are tearing up. And I so appreciate the opportunity to come here today. I got to know Jen in law school, and I have to say, Jen and Paul, and I have to say it was one of my fondest memories of law school, getting to know the two of them. You know, everyone here is telling such lovely stories. I'm so enjoying hearing all of them. But Jen, stories aren't really how I remember Jen. How I remember Jen is how she made me feel as a person. And I would be shocked if a lot of you in this room didn't feel the same, because she had this way of connecting with people. She had this way of listening, really listening to them, and she cared. There's not too many people I can say in my life that I had that kind of connection with, and I might not have known her as long as some of you, and you all have such a wonderful connection, but I had this kind of connection with her, one I didn't have with a lot of people. And I have such fond memories of her, and she just was so genuine and kind. And I've heard many people talk about her generosity, and she absolutely was. She was just an absolutely generous person, not just in her gift giving, but also in her spirit. And I just remember hanging out with her and just feeling good and looking forward to the next time I saw her again. And that's the main thing. And I heard her say so many wonderful things. Winnie, she adored you. She adored you, her mom. And I heard her talk about you often. She would talk of her dad, Dennis, and she was so proud. And also you, Greg. She just loved her family so very much. And Paul, you know, Paul, my buddy. And I remember in law school, I remember Paul and Jen were such good friends. And all throughout law school, we were all wondering, oh, are they going to get together? Are they going to get together? And I remember that first time I saw them dance, and I was like jumping up and down inside. I was so happy to see these two people who both adored each other so much finally get together. And Nick, it's not too often I hear people talk so fondly of their brother, and all I heard were good things about you, Nick. And she was always so happy when she got to see you. And Cam and Kate, when you two were born, she was the proudest mother. I swear, I had to live with when my daughter was born. I'm like, geez, I have to be as proud as Jen was. She absolutely adored you too. Till the very end. All I ever heard her do was talk about Cam and Kate and how proud she was of both of you. And I just wanted to say that because I feel to this very day how very fortunate I was to not only get to meet Jen, but to get to be her friend. I feel so very fortunate for that. And I'll really miss her. And like everyone else in this room, I think we all really care about her, and she really cared about us. And we all love her, and we'll miss her. But she'll make sure we remember her, that's for sure. Okay, thank you.
Well, now it's my turn. Jen has been there my whole life. I cannot remember a time before her, and I cannot imagine a time without her. Our arguments were legendary. They made the Punic Wars look like a pillow fight. They put paid to what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. They were explosive. And we both thought they were hilarious. For those anxious for the lurid details, don't worry, I'll return to them. For now, I want to talk about the parts that don't make funny stories. The Jen who would ask for a cuddle when she was upset, or to hold her hand when she was frightened. We went through so much together. We moved continents together. We lost our father together. We said farewell to our father in this very room many years ago. We flooded a basement together. Jen was my unwavering ally, so long as it was somebody else attacking me. She was brutally honest and savagely funny. She could laugh at her own expense. And she could laugh at others as well. She was proud and she was modest. She could be cruel, and listening to Tanya, so can I, but she was kind. Jen would confide her fears and protect me from mine. Jen would keep my confidences, and I will keep hers. But I will tell you that if you are here today, whether in this room or remotely, Jen loves you. She may not have shown it all the time. She may have hurt you. She may have made you cry, but she will definitely have made you laugh. She will have touched you with her unparalleled zest for life, for fun, for joy. We lost Jen far too soon. She burned half as long as she should have done, but she burned twice as bright as well. Now, I promised I'd tell you about our disputes. I've been thinking over the last few days which one to describe. One of the endless fights over the car, poor Pat Black will recall them well. No, I thought I'd tell you the one that Jen would want you to hear, but I'm not going to tell it the way she would want to. Here, for the very first time, is the truth about the frozen salmon event. Now, those of you who've heard Jen's version of this story probably think I'm some maniac with a penchant for throwing frozen seafood around. Well, you're not far wrong. Jen and I were living alone when I was in grade 13 and she was in grade 12 at our house. And I'd gone grocery shopping. And did she offer to help? No, she did not. I returned back to the house. I took the groceries into the house. Did she offer to help? No, she did not. I started putting the groceries away. Did she offer to help? No, she did not. What she did do was grab the receipt and start looking through it with her laser-like eyes, looking for items that she thought were suspicious. Finding one, she went upstairs and called my parents in California to tell them about it. This is not my finest moment. I put all the groceries back in the bags. I ran up to her room and I began pulling each item out, recounting its price and throwing it at her. And then I finally reached the smoked salmon. Smoked, not frozen. It always comes across as frozen. She always tells us it's frozen, but it's smoked. I threw the smoked salmon, and any of you who know Jen will know that salmon, or fish generally, in her room and towards her was a very, very bad idea. Jen went to my room, grabbed my personal possessions and all my clothing, and threw them all over the front yard. There were many, there was some fighting after that. There was some harsh words said. And then Jenny and I did something that we'd done many times before that and would do many times afterwards. And we went out to the front yard and we collected my belongings and my clothing and we brought them back into the house. And from that point forward, we laughed about that story, as we laughed about all our fights. So there you have it, the truth about the frozen salmon episode, which I promised Cam and Kate to tell for a very long time. Jen, I will never forget you. You will make me cry. You will always make me laugh. I will tell Cam and Kate your stories now that they're old enough to hear them, though perhaps not in the opinion of their father. We will be your record, and you will live on in us. Sorry. I want to thank all of Jen's friends and extended family for all of the support you've shown over the past week and before that. You have made the unbearable bearable for all of us, and we're hugely grateful. I'd like to thank you for everything, your support, and most importantly, being part of Jen's life. Jen, we love you, we miss you, and we will care for each other in remembrance of you. Thank you all very much.